I'm having fun scrunching up for the selfies at the start of these things. I did this just to check and see what happened to the hour-long thing that I did that suddenly vanished. And I'm pleased to see it was actually there. I just loaded it, uploaded it. It has a similar title. And this is again about Trudeau's illegal invasion, Canada's illegal presence in the Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy. Illegal presence. Canada has an illegal presence in 85% of British Columbia. Canada has no right. The province of British Columbia has no right to be selling anything, permits, leases, anything like that. They do not have a right to issue a land law. The land law of the land, according to, as agreed to by the Delgamuukw decision, even though Delgamuukw did not see in favor of Mr. Moldovs, who was Delgamuukw under the Gitxsan hereditary chieftaincies, which are part of the Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy, but it's the same nation. The Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy is thousands of years old. It's twice, it's triple, I don't know how many times older than Canada. Canada has never had a treaty. The British Columbia colony of British Columbia never got a treaty. There were almost no Britons in the Skeena or the Bulkley or the Nechako. The vote was taken to join Canada. And yet that vote has been used by British Columbia governments ever since to maintain that all responsibility for land claims was then Ottawa's as of our joining confederation. Ottawa's always said, wait a minute here. And Britain said, oh, not our problem, Britain. Oh, not our problem. Oh, no, not our problem. We'll go to our way. We'll go to the Raj. And, hey, you're a white colony. You're okay. No, you left us a bunch of corrupt bastards in power. You're corrupt bastards. The corrupt white establishment, the corporate establishment that you left in this political system, this party system behind with this thing that South Africa came and modeled the Bantustans on, was what was done here, was the stripping of the humanity off the First Nations, including the woman who were arrested by the so-called feminist Mr. Trudeau. And his weird, the media relationship with politicians in Canada is very deep. It goes back right to Confederation and before. In the colony, it goes right back to the founding of the mainland colony. The media are the politicians. And we've had several premiers as politicians, or politicians who became premiers, no doubt, and several cabinet ministers too. Also, too many police for my comfort. Yeah, too many police. We're a police state. Let's admit it. We are a police state. I know. I'm a slave of the bureaucracy myself. And I was wondering when this got cut off because the prime minister's here. That I was talking about the prime minister and I mentioned a few names and I was going live and I thought, well, why did that end? What I just so I got a little paranoid. I made a little thing about that. What? Because this is the kind of country when there's a military action going on. Yeah, the military are everywhere. All right, the military security intelligence agency or whatever they call themselves, the secret agency, the one with $3 billion that Harper doesn't know where it went. That's where it went. Who are they? What do they do? We don't know. What's in their building? We don't know. How much it cost? We don't know. It costs a lot though. It's pretty nice too. And then CSIS, who was created because the RCMP were breaking too many laws and doing things like they were recently doing with the young couple in Victoria. They tried to set up for putting some pressure cooker bombs in the legislature, and the same with the guy in Ontario. They tried to get a terrorist set up on, and they did this with the FLQ, which is why we wound up with CSIS. So everybody go look for a history by Lauren and Carolyn Brown from the University of Saskatchewan, published 1974. It's called The Unauthorized History of the RCMP. It should be widely circulated. It should be in every high school, not library. It should be in every high school civics course. It's a history of civil rights in Canada and how the RCMP were organized to thwart them and to thwart democracy and to bully the natives. And they bombed the leader of the Varigans, I'm sure of it, Peter Varigan and Peter the Lordly, on his train between Castlegar and Grand Forks in the 1920s. And they were brought in by W.A.C. Bennett to jackboot the Doukhobors and intern those children and take them from their parents. And do all kinds of things. The Lorna Carolyn Brown book ends at Fred Quilt's murder in the Chilcotin. He was a Chilcotin leader, and the postscripts I always have. I try and post that about Wikipedia. Someone will always come up. Oh, the story is he was a drunk. Oh yeah, okay. Well, so was Sir John A. fucking MacDonald. So they dropped that out. He's a drunk. So now the RCMP, who are the big question mark, the big Stetson-hatted white elephant, red-coated white elephant behind that are the main topic at the parts of the missing and murdered Indian women's inquiries that the Prime Minister is not allowing to go forward are the very same paramilitary in unknown numbers and at unknown cost, and with troops from where and who in charge and how many troops and at what cost, are currently at war in British Columbia with the sovereign nation of the Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy and the chieftaincies of Get Them Den, which is part of the Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy, and Udastoten, which is next door. And during events like this, as during the War Measures Act, the War Measures Act just didn't apply in Quebec. It applied all the way across the country. People were interned who were all kinds of political people all across the country. The same during Oka, including international observers, were interned without charges being laid, and many people were interned without charges being laid and without the law having any right to do so. And in similar media, cordon put down even before the military came in and seized News World broadcast headquarters. Now we don't get the media in there at all, and the media, when they get let in, they'll be let in embedded from the side. In other words, you're an occupied country, Canada, by your own paramilitary, right? Their usefulness has ended. They're a political force in their own right. They have too much power. And I think they kind of did this. Did the Prime Minister do this, or did they do this from the Harper momentum of classifying Native environmentalists as terrorists? Because this came out of Harper, that definition. That the RCMP went along with that. And Mr. Trudeau changed his tune once he got into office about Natives, didn't he? And who is he serving today when he's going skiing up on the slopes at Whistler? Well, yesterday, he's probably still up there. It's probably nice up there today. He's got the kids with him. They got a fancy hotel room. How many Mounties are skiing that slope with him? What's this costing the public for him to take a holiday in BC while Native women are being arrested for defending their traditional chieftaincies in the North, which are the legal system in the North and need to be acknowledged as by the federal government and the provincial government? Put the Gitxsan-Wet'suwet'en Confederacy on. The thing about the pipeline, because it has Chinese ownership, it's exempt from labor and environmental standards, safety standards. If it blows, China's not responsible. We are. Are you responsible, Mr. Trudeau? No, you're not responsible to the Canadian people. You sicken me. You sicken me. Even your father was a better man and he was hated. And here you are. You might as well flip a finger at the First Nations of British Columbia by going skiing at an elitist white resort. Oh, geez, how callous can you be? Are you trying to be Monsieur Macron? Are you trying to be Bolsonaro? Are you trying to be the white fascist? Why don't you just put some epaulets on and get a sash and be the Latin American dictator? Why don't you just play that role now? Mr. Trump will like you a lot better if you put on this show. Maybe you're doing it for him more than you are for the Albertans who are on their way to hang you, who aren't real yellow vests. I'm a real yellow vest. I want citizen democracy, and I know if there was citizen democracy in the Northwest, do you want the Mounties here? People would say no. And here in BC, we never got a chance. Christy Clark signed the deal to re-sign because she got elected illegally by a corrupted, illegal donation process put in place by the same Liberal Party that they distanced themselves from the federal one, but they still allowed foreign donations, including from China, but mostly from the United States, who own most of our government infrastructure now. We were conquered without a shot, so I'm fine. So long as the native nations get their sovereignty, I'm fine with joining the United States. Fuck Ottawa. Fuck Ottawa. I'd rather send 2 senators to Washington than deal with this bullshit anymore. Would I deal with the Second Amendment? I don't know. But I sure know there's a lot of people in Canada that are tired of being passive. They're tired of being the dormice. They're tired of being the mouse next door to the elephant. Or the mouse under the juggernaut of the Force Majeure de Gendarmerie Royale de Canada. You know, that they were founded, as the Carolyn Brown's book can tell you, they were founded to subdue the West and tame. This job is still that. And all they do is serve corporate extraction powers that leave nothing in the ground of British Columbia. Where is all the money from the gold? Where is all the money from the copper? Where is all the money from the coal? Where is all the money from the trees? Where is all the money from the real estate? Where is all the money from all the other ores? Where is all the money from the hydroelectricity? Where is it? It's not here. We're all poor. I used to have friends that slept in the rain last night because there's rich people living in other countries that own high-class palaces in British Columbia, while you go skiing as the money laundering machine that is Vancouver keeps on rolling full tilt. All to serve the forest industry and oil and gas industry that signed away the territorial integrity of Canada to China with the Vladivostok Treaty, which you did not have the testicles to recant and tell China to go fuck itself. No, the Gitkasan, Wet'suwet'en, and the Hupaksath, and the Stolo, and the Squamish, the Shaquamic, they never signed any such treaty. And you have no treaty with them, sir. You're an invader. I'm a white guy and I'm telling you this. You're an invader. I'm embarrassed to be a Canadian right now. I really am. I'm horrified. And I'm horrified that Canadians would just go, oh, well, they're just Indians. They just want more money for their welfare. Oh, geez, listen to that racist crap, Yet our media repeats that without question. It allows such things to be said. It panders to it. It allows Rex Murphy, no doubt, to spout off at this today in full support of the military, standing up for the integrity of Canadian sovereignty. You know what? Canada has no sovereignty in Gitkasan, Wet'suwet'en territory. It has no sovereignty in west of the Rockies, other than some small reserves near Victoria and Nanaimo, Fort Rupert, and in the Northeast, and a few treaties that have been signed on the mainland. All the rest of British Columbia is unsurrendered territories, unsurrendered nations that now have been invaded by forces from other provinces, speaking French probably, and speaking coldly. And well, we're just enforcing the law, and you're breaking the law. No, there's no law that applies there that you can invoke because it does not apply on Wet'suwet'en land. Now, this needs to go to the International Court. This needs to go there now. This needs to go there before the Security Council. Mr. Trudeau needs a reprimand on the Security Council. I don't know, Mr. Putin, are you up to it? But you're afraid of the Canadian yellow, the Russian yellow vests, aren't you? That's why you're not speaking up too strongly about the French yellow vests and censoring Mr. Macron. You're not going to say Mr. Trudeau for the same reason. This is Standing Rock too. It's being done in the dead of winter by the cowardly fop from Montreal, who once bounced at Whistler nightclubs. And hey, I know somebody that probably knows a few things about Mr. Trudeau and Whistler. I haven't talked to the guy in a while. I didn't really want to talk to him again, but I bet it'd be an interesting conversation if I did have it. And this is the point where I got cut off last time, so I'm going to stop this time. Because I'm sure they're watching this. I'm sure that because we have a military action happening in British Columbia by both the military and the RCMP right now, they are watching, all of the networks with digital. Canada has more digital surveillance than Americans fear their digital surveillance networks would get under the things that the Republicans are trying to pass. Canadian authorities already have that, and they've had it for a long time. We live in a dictatorship, Canada. Wake up, man. Wake up, wake up. I want to go to another country, like I said in my other video. If France will take me, Greece, somewhere, Iceland, I'll go. I'm part Icelandic, but they got too many damn tourists there right now. I don't want to be just another one. I want to go there and be Icelandic. But no, I'm Greek. My Greek buddy says, Mike, you're on a file. Come live in Greece. And I have a French buddy who has, maybe a place in Budapest, maybe a place near Marseille. Maybe I can go hang out at his place for a while. But it's a civilized country, France. They like people like me because I'm intelligent and conversational, and I have respect for human rights and human dignity, which people here in British Columbia don't. And I've had some guy get upset with me. You don't call me a fascist. That's worse than calling me an idiot. Yeah, but he's anti-native. He's anti-poor. He's anti-social services. He's pro-pipeline. He's pro-corporate. What else is he but a fascist? The Canadian fascist by any other name, is a right-wing Canadian. Mr. Scheer, Mr. Kenney, I'm calling you out. Canada has always had the dark streak of authoritarianism built into it. That's why we were the most loyal colony and why Britain let us go first. Because they knew that we jacked any attempt to overturn the colonial order they'd established. Now, Crown had no treaties here. Not enough, anyway. So there's a little pocket of Western Canada that has a right to be its own countries, plural, like the Swiss Confederacy. I want to recommend that the First Nations of British Columbia do that they incorporate themselves and go to the UN and demand a seat as the call it the Northwest Confederacy or something, and all of Talta and Tlingit, all of you just declare sovereignty, and go for it. And a lot of us white people will go with you, and a lot of the Chinese and everybody else, they want a fair future for everybody, and they know people are going like, well, the First Nations won't have the support of the newcomers. Well, You're assuming that my Nigerian friends are on the side of the natives. My South American, Mexican friends are. My French friends. My American friends are. And the media spent a lot of this money telling that we don't support native rights. They did that after, they did that after all the stuff in the 60s. They've done this over and over and over again to tell us that we don't support native rights. And when it comes to this, we have a big thing like the Staffs and Lake or something, and it all gets not tossed aside in court. But in the meantime, people have been arrested, rights have been violated. Troops have been paid how much money? How much did this operation cost? And who's footing the bill? And were you prepared to shoot if somebody shot back? Are you prepared to do what Mr. Macron has done and use Chinese-made tear gas and flashballs? Where does the RCMP get their material from? By the way, for the riot squad gear and the material that was used there. Or are all those APC that you're not going to sell to Saudi Arabia now? I hope. Are they going to use them against Native Canadians like the APCs have been used against Native Americans? I'd say so. I'd say we're headed for the Trudeau dictatorship, and I'm sick of it. Justin Trudeau, I'm calling you out. You're a bastard. And I'm not the only person saying this, and I'm not a right winger. I'm from the other end. I'm from the other end. You're a traitor, sir. You're a traitor. You're a traitor to even your father's name, and he was a crook too. A bully and a crook too. Even, dare I say, even Byron Mulroney was a better man. Oh, God, did I just say that? This is shameful what you've done, sir. You talk softly, and then you carry the big stick, and you go skiing with your kids while you act like a jackboot dictator in British Columbia. And you're going to have that public meeting in Kamloops Town Hall? Oh, damn, I wish I could go. But I bet that one's going to be a barn burner live. I bet that the people of British Columbia don't want you here, sir. Or the wrong kind of people do, and probably in a place like Kamloops where there's a lot of people looking for union jobs on the pipeline. Maybe, but that's also the heart of the Secwepemc Nation, of the Southern Secwepemc, and also there's right near Nicola Country in the Coldwater. You took on more than you can handle, Mr. Trudeau. Maybe I have too by doing this. I have real life stuff to get to. I spend too much time doing this because I care about the future and I care about people and I care about what I thought was this country, but this is not a country. This is not a country. This is a farce. What is going on in the Northwest is highly illegal, and the international press is being kept away from it by the police in 15 below weather. You coward, Mr. Trudeau. You're a coward. I don't know what to title this video, but man, you make me angry. So I titled it whatever I titled it, What the people of Canada are upset. If you think you're going to win this election this year without passing electoral reform, which you can do, you don't need a referendum. Everybody knows that. The Liberal Party and the Tories in BC in 1951 passed the elimination ballot by legislation. You can do that. You can do that tomorrow. The Greens would support it. The NDP would support it. Are you afraid of having the Greens have a whole lot more seats like the NDP are in BC, which is why they screwed the referendum? They did. They screwed that referendum. It was designed to fail. Is that what you do then, Mr. Trudeau? You're afraid of seeing a Green government? It's your oil company friends and your international, your trilateral friends that your father curried favor for by signing us all over to the banking system that the French are revolting against now, and the debit card so they could track all transactions. Yeah, your father was a digital dictator. And he was also a boot fascist. Just watch me, he said. And that's what you just did. Just watch me. I went skiing. Just watch me. I went skiing. Just watch me. I went skiing. Justin Trudeau, you sicken me. I'm going to get every little bit of dirt gossip on you I can from around Whistler and see what I can do about that. And your media honey, your media wife and all your cute kids and your fancy trips to India and smiling for the camera and doing PR trips, and apparently you're really charming in person, and then you turn around and stab people in the back like you did with this election campaign, this last one. No, we need something better than the parliamentary system. We need citizens initiative referendums. We need a national provincials, 10 provincial assemblies or more. Maybe BC needs several ones, because I think the First Nations should start looking at incorporating their regions as their own countries and talking to the non-natives in those areas and say, look, we have this plan, like the West Bank First Nation, they run pretty well, the Soyuz run First Nation. Why not say the whole Okanagan Nation becomes a separate nation and all the whites living there pay taxes to the Okanagan Nation, not to Ottawa? How does that sound, folks? So I think we should start talking about serious political reform in Canada, and to hell with the next election. To hell with the next election. And to hell with the idiots wearing the yellow vests on their big trucks driving across Ontario to go hang the Prime Minister. We don't have a yellow vest symbol yet, but we need one. We need something to rally around. As Canadians, no, no. As human beings, this is not about being Canadian. This is not about nationality. Like I said, if it takes the United States to run this place better and respect the natives as if they would, I'd be okay with that. And it says they respect native rights. Well, do they really? Then why did they sign a treaty demanding the right for Canada to have to use armed force? All means necessary. Why? Why, China, if you claim that you support native rights, why did you con Canada on such a treaty that immediately is all about taking native resources without giving them a dime or just a pittance? Or saying, oh, well, we contribute money to native culture. Yeah, and the U.S. is right to boot you out of North America. Monroe Doctrine and Manifest Destiny will be the end result of all this, and British Columbia is sooner or later bound to be somehow in a friendly, if not united, arrangement with the United States. Alberta can, let Alberta go, right? Build I-25 to Fairbanks, for God's sake. Why not? Why not? But British Columbia, you got this own little weird little vortex here of our own little bubble of unreality. We're just like New England. We're this bubble of unreality like the UK. We're the alternate UK, except that we're multi-ethnic and we're a pretty polyglot little place. And I'll miss the polyglot nature. Although there's Sikhs and Chinese in Fraser Canyon too, but it's much more native and white, older white up there. It's so hard to be a British Columbian at times like this. It really is. It really is. Like this is like during Oka. I was having coffee at Thurlow and the Starbucks at Thurlow, the new one at Thurlow, not the old one, at Thurlow in Alberta, on the night of the Oka ultimatum. On the night of the Oka ultimatum. And things were just going on as before. And everywhere that I looked around the West End, I see the giant trees that used to stand there only 100 years before. Everywhere I go now, I can see the ghosts of the great forests here. I live outside of time. I'm kind of like Moab in Frank Herbert's Dune. I can see what was. I can see what happened somewhere. A window here, I know what the river looked like 100 years ago. And I live in the middle of what had been a great, huge forest here in Maple Ridge, which I now have to walk through all parking lots and miles of plenty to go do some basic errands. And I'm taking up too much time being political, as my friend Dragon and Victoria say, Michael, stop doing that, playing music. But it's hard to play music at a time like this. I can play now. If I play guitar today, it'll be a songs of anger. Be songs of anger at what this country has become. I have a variant of the national anthem that not the variant, but the phrase from it, True, Strong, and Free, that I had a certain set of chords I've been building an anthem from, but it was always meant as a song of what we're supposed to be is true, what we're supposed to be is strong, what we're supposed to be is free. We're not free, we're a colony, and it's time to end being a colony. We need a Canadian revolution. We need a Canadian republic. We need to get rid of the crown. Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she doesn't have a lot to say, like the song says. Right? And she can't say anything to Canadians, She's powerless to help Canadians, even if people do write her and ask her, because they know she's a nice lady. But no, Victoria didn't have the power to do it either. Sometimes the royal family can do things, but you get some foppet from the Montreal money that built BC, Canadian Pacific International, and I don't know, Sinclair, his grandpa, he's a Sinclair, and I can't remember who his grandpappy for, which forest company, but he was known as the Bull of the Woods, that man. He was a logging industry asshole. Big and rich and fat and had glad-handed kiss babies, old-style crooked liberal politician. And liberal in Canada, folks, in the United States, it's not a good word if it has a capital letter on it, okay? They're called the Natural Governing Party. They're the most corrupt part of the whole Canadian corruption system. They make the Conservatives look honest. The Conservatives actually were popular because they were perceived as more honest. And then they got the Reform Party and the Crap Party, the Conservative Reform Alliance Party, which was a hijacking by a neo-Republicanite, quasi-separatist party from the West, the Reform Party, who took the term reform and ran with it as a fascist right-wing party and abandoned all pretenses at democratic reform once they came to power. And once they came to power as the Prime Minister under Stephen Harper, he started passing police state legislation. He started classifying natives as terrorists and environmentalists as terrorists. He started liking to appear with the military. There's all kinds of weird stuff about Harper and his arrangements. He signed the Vladivostok Treaty. He also signed a treaty with Bush, allowing the U.S. military to enter Canada anytime, any reason. without calling Ottawa first of their own accord. They can do it anytime. They can intervene, for example, in the Wet'suwet'en War, or if there's any conflict in the TMX War. The TMX War is coming because this is Trudeau's dress rehearsal for the Wet'suwet'en War. It's Trudeau's dress rehearsal for the TMX War, folks. I don't know whether it's going to be a Blue River or Coldwater out the shores of Burrard Inlet. I don't know where it's going to be, but he's setting the stage for just showing what a butch jock he is. That he's going to keep on coming as the tough guy in the ring that he claims to be. Okay, Mr. Trudeau, you're out of your depth when you're dealing with the First Nations of British Columbia. You should have been doing a little more than just dancing in the nightclubs and skiing while you were at Whistler. You should have been hanging out in Mount Currie and learning Litwat or learning Squamish, and learning about the First Nations history here, that you don't have a right to be here, sir. And your jockos, your bully boys in the gendarmerie and la militaire canadien, they have no right to be in where there is no treaty. Britain, there is no treaty. This is Britain's fault. Britain, you allowed Canada to not fulfill the Royal Proclamation of British Columbia first. Whether you allowed the smallpox, I don't know. But the lack of treaties in BC, only 2 weeks ago, I was saying in the wake of the referendum that the natives not wanting to vote, particularly in the Northwest, was a huge geopolitical issue, which was going to come to a head, and it just came to a head yesterday with the arrest of 14 Wet'suwet'en leaders, including 2 chiefs, one of them in an independent confederacy that was recognized by the courts of Canada in the Delcambre decision. And the native customary law and land law is now part of Canadian common law. This will end in the courts, and it will end with them going free. But in the meantime, a whole bunch of men made a whole bunch of money so they can go back to bullying native women when they come and complain about somebody taking advantage of them or raping them or beating them. That's what the Mounties are like. And what happened at La Ronge was that poor native kid who got shot in the back of the head by the white farmer. He got off. And the Mountie, I won't get into it. It's sickening what goes on in Canada, especially Saskatchewan, Alberta, but also BC. BC has a dark, ugly history that I'm sorry I'm from here. And I understand completely why natives don't like white people here and why they don't like the crown and why they won't vote. We have 5 to 6% of the population that won't vote because they're an occupied population. Natives are British Columbia's Palestinians and British Columbia is Israel. British Columbia is a falsity. It needs to be disincorporated and reconstituted by citizens' assemblies. We need to get rid of John Horgan. We need to get rid of the parliament. We need to sit down and talk about it all. Now, the problem is we got this big arm to the teeth country right next door. That's the big problem. So Mr. Trudeau is keeping order on behalf of his Chinese friends here. There is some American investment in that pipeline, but not too much. But mainly it's China that's being built for. Same with the TMX. And the U.S. isn't too particular about having a Chinese footprint in North America, taking out, especially in a 5G network spanning half the continent. No. It was a stupid idea in the first place. But Mr. Harper was the one who started the double dance. I call it the double dance with China and the U.S. You can't dance with 2 partners. And our partner used to be Britain, and Britain didn't want us anymore, Who wants that railhead? Well, but who does want the British Columbia or Alaska is pretty clear. And they've wanted it for a long time. They've almost taken it a few times, and Britain almost gave it to them. I say, okay, so long as the First Nations have their sovereignty, fine. But they cut the deal with China that allows China to build a pipeline with no environmental standards across the wetlands of the north without labor and could possibly use Chinese labor instead of like local 300 jobs for the plant in Kitimat, and then the pipeline itself could be built by Chinese temporary foreign workers. People don't get that. The pro-pipeliners driving to Ottawa, you don't get that the TMX, if there's any Chinese shares in the Canadian buyout of it, I don't know how that's going to work. It'd be political dynamite if they use TFWs on the TMX, but at one point with Kinder Morgan, it looked like it could be being built by Chinese workers. So you Yellow Jackets from Canada, you're a bunch of bozos, man. If you really read the actual Gilets Jaunes manifesto of what they want, you might come around and realize that the rest of Canada does need to stand up, but we'll only stand up with you if you stop talking like a bunch of jackboot white supremacist idiots who get snowflake sensitive if somebody calls you a fascist, because that's what you are, you pricks. And so is the prime minister you want to hang. You're all fascists. The native people of this country own it. Somebody out there in the world, give me asylum. I want out. I want to be an expat Canadian again. I don't have medical care, but I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed
I'm so ashamed for all that I thought this country was, and that I believed in so much in 1967 as a young kid when Pierre Trudeau got first choice as leader of the party, and I thought he was a great man. And he was a great man. He was a great asshole, and his son is an even bigger asshole. I hope you see this, Justin. I hope you see this. I hope you see this. I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm not a violent person, but I'll be talking the truth about you everywhere I go in this world in all 6 languages that I speak. If I'm a political prisoner, fine. If I'm a political exile, even better. And yeah, you can shut me out of Canada like you shut out the truth, like you from your own people, and allow the media to shut the truth out, and you allow CBC to shut the truth out, just the way your father shut down people talking back, and the way where it was it Chrétien or Mulroney that shut down them? I've forgotten who was prime minister actually during all. Was it Mulroney at the end of his time? And Kimmy Campbell out there, Kimmy Campbell, call Mr. Trump what he is, but why you were a Tory girl? Why don't you join the Greens? Anyways, I gotta go. I'm doing pretty good. Only 30 minutes. I already wasted an hour doing this already. And the errand that I gotta get done won't get done till tomorrow anyway. It's for my new place in the canyon. I'm moving. That's where I'm moving out of. Or that's where, yeah, that's my view I'm moving out of. It might better be like that. You've seen me well in the earlier video. I'm so mad at Trudeau. I'm so mad for his arrogant foppery going skiing at Whistler. Eating cake while women standing in 15 below weather to defend their traditional territory are arrested by men from another province in uniform. And you were so cowardly you had to call in the military too. Or was that just an intimidation to the TMX protesters? To watch it all, call in the heavy duty military. And where are they from? New Brunswick, Alberta, Ontario, Newfoundland. Where are they from, those boys? Because they're not from British Columbia, are they? Some of them, maybe. Where are those Mounties from? Regina, Quebec? Where? So these are invaders from another country moving into a nation that should appear on the map and which a Chinese backed company wants a pipeline across at great expense to the land and the dignity of the people in question. And we have an asshole going skiing with his kids who has all the power in this country and will not relinquish even a dime of it. Or even tell us what this is costing us. What is this costing us? What is this costing us? What is it costing the Wet'suwet'en? How much do the Wet'suwet'en get for all the trees that were taken from their land by the Forest Act of 1976 that your father went along with in removing lands from the government reserve, which were set aside for land claims? You're sickening your whole family, Mr. Trudeau. Your intellectual father, with all his writ and fop, was a tyrant. And yeah, he's a left wing asshole to the right wing people, but I'm a left winger. If people think I'm a communist, what I see is a dictator. What I see is an aristocrat and an autocrat. I see a pretty boy who was given a job because of his family name by the same people, the very same people who put Gordon Campbell in power so that he could sell British Columbia down the drain to the United States. You and Harper, you're all the same, and Harper gave Campbell the job in London to get him away from here where he's hated. I don't even think Gordon Campbell could walk in a store here without being spat on. And you gave him Harper gave him a job as High Commissioner in London. This is the bullshit that goes on in Canada. We're all sick of it. Parliament's a joke. And all the journalists who say, oh, parliamentary tradition is, they're all part of the hack, paid, lobbyist bullshit system. Anybody defending the parliamentary system has a stake in defending it. Politicians should not be allowed to write constitutions. It's pretty much simple. I don't know. There's too many people in Iceland. There's only a third of a million people, and they've already got a million a year. I'm not the right guy, and I can't handle the weather, but I'd go there for the summer if someone will bring me there. I don't know. I'm still got to move to the canyon and get my life together and do my vlogging and do this, and make money at doing this and get my vlog together so people are watching them and tag them so people see them, and learn all the ropes of it, but I'm glad I've learned to do this. I'm the unprofessor. I'm Mike Cloven, Skookum, Skookum 1, Salmon Ass Man. I've had other names. Sometimes Friendly Giant was one of them. Sometimes Friendly Giant. I go by others. Michael the One Eye, Michael the Talker, Michael the Walker, Michael the Wanderer. Those names. I have others. I want to say Merry Christmas, but it's, 3 days after Russian Christmas, so I'm still in the Yuletide mood. So I'm going to have a good year. I'm going to go for a walk now and at least get the papers done that I need to have for tomorrow to go up and take in to get for my